Hello everyone and welcome to EasyMed. And today we are going to learn about Alzheimer's disease. Under Alzheimer's disease we will learn about its etiology, its pathogenesis, its morphology, its clinical features and finally its management. Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder. Similarly, it is also the most common cause of dementia in older adults. And since it is a neurodegenerative disorder, there is progressive loss of functionally related neurons. Now let's move on to its etiology. The most common risk factor for Alzheimer's disease is its age. People greater than 45 years of age have increased prevalence for Alzheimer's disease. And most cases of Alzheimer's disease are sporadic ones. Similarly, 5 to 10% cases of it have a genetic component. That is, there is a pattern of familial inheritance. And it has two patterns of familial inheritance. The first one being the early onset autosomal dominant type and the late onset polygenomic type. Similarly, the mutations in gene like amyloid precursor protein gene, presenilin 1 that is PS1 and presenilin 2 that is PS2 gene and mutation in ApoE4 can also lead to Alzheimer's disease. Now let's move on to the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease. And while discussing about the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease, we have to discuss it under the role of two proteins. That is the role of amyloid beta protein and the role of tau protein. Now let's move on to this figure. This figure basically shows APP, that is amyloid precursor protein, and this protein has three cleavage sites. Okay, and the three cleavage sites includes beta, alpha, and gamma sites. Among these three sites, the first two, that is beta and alpha, are secreted extracellularly, while the gamma site, it is located intracellularly. And the pattern of cleavage is always extracellular to intracellular. Okay, the pattern of cleavage is always extracellular to intracellular. If the cleavage is at the level of alpha secretase around here, then there is the formation of non-amyloidogenic protein, and that is basically a harmless protein, so we don't have to worry about that in this video. Similarly, if the cleavage occurs at the level of beta secretase, then there is the formation of amyloid beta peptide. Okay, and this is the amyloid beta protein is the main protein which is crucial for the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease. After the formation of amyloid beta peptide, it leads to formation of amyloid beta monomer, and this monomer leads to formation of oligomer, and this oligomer ultimately leads to formation of amyloid beta aggregates. These aggregates will lead to formation of amyloid beta fibrils, and these fibrils will ultimately lead to the formation of plaques. Plaques are nothing but deposition of amyloid beta proteins. Okay. Now, I previously said there is also the role of tau proteins. Now let's know what is the role of tau proteins here. Tau proteins are basically microtubule stabilizing proteins, and the function of the tau proteins is that they help in the intracellular transport. Similarly, they also help in the organization of cellular structure. Amyloid beta oligomers actually cause kinase activation, due to which there is phosphorylation of the tau protein. Due to the phosphorylation of the tau protein, the microtubule stabilizing function of the tau protein is lost, and that will cause microtubule disassembly and neural damage. Similarly, the tau phosphorylation will lead to tau aggregation, and the tau aggregation will lead to formation of tangles. And tangles are nothing but aggregates of tau proteins. Now, let's know what further amyloid beta oligomers will do. Amyloid beta oligomers will cause synaptic dysfunction, and they will also cause cell death. Cell death to the oxidative damage via inflammatory processes, and these both processes, that is synaptic dysfunction and cell death, will ultimately lead to neuronal damage. Similarly, the microtubule disassembly through tau phosphorylation will also lead to neuronal damage. And as I said, this is a neurodegenerative disorder. So, there is neuronal damage in case of Alzheimer's disease.
Now let's talk about the morphology of Alzheimer's disease. Talking about the morphological features can be divided into two broad categories. They are the gross features and the microscopic features, and out of which the gross features of Alzheimer's disease includes bilateral cortical atrophy, It is because since it's a neurodegenerative disease, there is a decrease in the mass of neurons, which will ultimately lead to the atrophy of the cortex. And similarly, the bilateral cortical atrophy is also marked by widening of sulci, which is especially prominent in frontal, parietal, and temporal lobes. There is compensatory ventricular dilatation also, and the ventricular dilatation is secondary to the loss of parenchyma and brain volume. And this phenomenon, that is the compensatory ventricular dilatation due to secondary loss of parenchyma and brain volume, is also called as hydrocephalus ex vacu. I repeat, it's also called hydrocephalus ex vacu. Similarly, the structures of medial side of temporal lobes are also involved, which include the hippocampus, amygdala, and entorhinal cortex. Now, let's talk about the microscopic features of Alzheimer's disease. The major microscopic abnormality that forms the basis of histological diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease includes, as I have mentioned earlier, you guys must have noticed, I said two terms, namely plex and tangles, or let's say neuritic plex and neurofibrillary tangles. These are the major microscopic features in case of Alzheimer's disease. Talking about the neuritic plex, these are actually focal areas of central amyloid beta deposits, which are surrounded by tortuous neuritic processes. And the amyloid core is actually surrounded by clear halo around them. And the microglial cells and reactive astrocytes are present at the periphery. Now let me repeat it once again. There is amyloid beta deposit at the center. Similarly, the amyloid beta deposits are surrounded by neuritic processes. And the amyloid core, which includes amyloid beta deposits and neuritic processes, is surrounded by clear halo. And at the periphery of the plex, we can find microglial cells and reactive astrocytes. Now let's talk about the neurofibrillary tangles. As the name suggests, neurofibrillary means that there is the formation of fibrils, or let's say filaments in neurons. So there is the bundle of filament in the cytoplasm of neuron that displace or encircle the nucleus, and these are composed of paired helical filaments, which are basically hyperphosphorylated tau proteins. And the neurofibrillary tangles are commonly found in entorhinal cortex. Now let me repeat this once again. Neurofibrillary tangles are nothing but filaments, actually bundle of filaments in the cytoplasm of neurons. And the bundle of filaments in the cytoplasm of neuron displaces or encircles the nucleus, and it is most commonly found in entorhinal cortex. Now the other microscopic features include amyloid angiopathy, which is nothing but amyloid deposit around blood vessel. Similarly, granulovacular degeneration is also seen. And the most important or the most pathogenic features of Alzheimer's disease is Hyanobodies. Hyanobodies is also a microscopic feature of Alzheimer's disease. Hyanobodies are elongated, glassy, eosinophilic bodies consisting of paracrystalline areas of beaded filaments, and the Hyanobodies are composed of actin. And the Hyanobodies are commonly found in pyramidal cells of hippocampal cortex. Now let me repeat it once again. Hyanobodies are the pathogenic features of Alzheimer's disease. They are elongated, glassy, eosinophilic bodies consisting of paracrystalline areas of beaded filaments. They are composed of actin, and they are commonly found in the pyramidal cells of hippocampal cortex.
Now let's discuss the clinical features of Alzheimer's disease. As Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative disease, there is degeneration of neurons. And the degeneration of neurons in Alzheimer's disease causes the memory loss and the forgetfulness. The memory loss and forgetfulness are actually the early manifestations of Alzheimer's disease. Okay. Along with the progression of the disease, apraxia, aphasia, and cognitive impairment are also seen. Apraxia means nothing but loss of ability to carry out skilled movement. Similarly, aphasia means inability to communicate, either through written form or through verbal form. Similarly, there is cognitive impairment. It is obvious that there is cognitive impairment because there is loss of neurons in case of Alzheimer's disease. Similarly, later in the disease, there is a phenomenon called as anosognosia. I will repeat it again. It's called as anosognosia. And in anosognosia, the patient actually denies anything is wrong. Okay. And in Alzheimer's disease, pneumonia is the terminal event. That is the cause of death in most of the Alzheimer's patient is pneumonia. And the pneumonia, that is aspiration pneumonia, is actually seen in the patients, which actually leads to their death. That is the terminal event in case of Alzheimer's disease. Now, finally, we move on to the management of Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's disease can actually be managed through two lines of treatments. The first line being the anticholinesterase and the other being the NMDA antagonist. Anticholinesterase are actually given in this condition because anticholinesterase are actually the inhibitors of acetylcholinesterase enzyme. Okay, and if the acetylcholinesterase enzyme is inhibited, then acetylcholine can persist for longer time at the synaptic junctions, which will result in increased depolarization of the postsynaptic membrane and will cause increased cognition. That is, increased epi will cause increased cognition. And the examples of anticholinesterase used in case of Alzheimer's disease are donepezil and rivastigmine. Similarly, NMDA antagonists like memantine are also used, and they basically help in boosting of memory. Thank you for watching this video. Hope this video helped you guys, and if you found out this video helpful,